Okay, can you let me in the chat know if you can hear me now? Can people hear me? Oh, my dog's barking. Not letting you outside. Okay, excellent. So people can hear. This is excellent news. Right. Okay. So let's start with some 4 markers. I'll move on from there. Why is that not working? Tired. Right. Oh, you guys can't see the 4 marker. Please send me the chat if you can't see what I'm talking about, if I've forgotten to move on slides and stuff like that. But that should be right. Right, let me bring up that. Okay, yeah, we can. Certainly. I'll do this 4 marker first. Hello, Luke. Yeah, of course I can. I'll do this 4 marker first just to get us started and get us warmed up while people come in, and then I'll do that 12 marker as the first sort of 12 marker. 12 marker, Incarnation is the most important belief for Christians. Yeah, I don't mind that one. That's quite a nice 12 marker. I like that one. So let's just look at an atonement one, because I think an atonement one is quite like a tricky little one. Hello, it's Mr. Minton. So, explain 2 ways in which belief in atonement influences Christians today. So, yeah, Kantian ethics is difficult, Luke. A-level is hard. Right, so, atonement, okay, is at-one-ment. And Luke, you should be acting as if your maxim should become a universal law, which is one of my favourite Kantian quotes. So, at one, you're becoming at one with God, okay? So, how's that going to influence us? The fact that we believe in atonement and we believe that we can atone for our sins, how's that going to make us act? Well, I think there's a few things that we can say, okay? So the first thing I want to say is I'm going to say something along the lines of, like, atonement means I'm going to try and work for salvation. I'm going to try and find salvation. So one way that a belief in... Yeah, of course, I'll do that, Katie. That's absolutely not a problem. One way that a belief in atonement influences Christians today is to... I'll try and, if I can, Katie, I'll try and put a quote on each question as well, and I'll highlight it as I go through, if I remember. If I forget, please tell me off in the chat, and I'll do that. So my belief in atonement influences Christians today is to work for salvation through deeds. This is because by doing good deeds, they can atone for their sins and reach heaven. Now, you wouldn't need a quote in this one because it's a 4 marker. This will be a 4 mark question. I should have put that up there. 4. But let's make it into like a 5-star question by hitting a quote into it, okay? Quote from the Bible that supports this is faith without action is dead. That's a nice one. I've talked about atonement in a really simple way. I've said it makes us work for salvation through deeds because we can be saved, because we can become at one with God. That's what I'm going for my first basic one, okay? And I've just said good deeds. I've been really vague. I've not been too specific, okay? Now let's go for something else that's really simple, okay? Another way that atonement influences Christians is to pray for forgiveness for their sins. This is because to atone and be at one with God, they must ask for forgiveness for what they have done. Now, I don't need a quote for this one, but let's put quotes in there just to make ourselves fussy. I can do that one as well, Evie. You don't, Fran. You don't need quotes in a 4 marker. I'm adding them just to try and like put quotes in, so we've got as many quotes as we can, just to help people out, because often people come looking at these things, looking for quotes. So I'm just throwing quotes in there in case someone's out there going, like Katie, just being like, I want to see quotes. That's how I want to revise. I'm going over the top. And let's say we had a 5 mark about atonement. What things could you put in there? Okay. Now, if I was going to add quotes to this second paragraph, I might throw in like, Father, forgive them, they know not what they're doing. But I would actually more likely go for the Lord's Prayer on that one and be like, forgive and you will be forgiven. No, that's not the Lord's Prayer, sorry. Forgive us as we forgive those who trespass against us or sin against us. You could do forgive and you'll be forgiven. That's a nice easy quote for that one as well. So, the first person who asked was a 12 marker. The Incarnation is the most important belief. Oh, how do I... Ow! Sugar my tomatoes. Right. Okay, we'll take that one. I don't know who you are, Creamable. I'm sorry. I assume you're a student at my school that I'm meant to be doing this for. So we'll put... Why does that come out in white? Let's make that font black, please. Right. So this is Creamable's question that they've asked for. I'm hoping I teach you Creamable. Okay, I've got all these questions. Right, so I'm going to take all these questions and just do them. So I'll put them on a list. So then I've got 4-marker missionary work. That's my next one. And then my next one is going to be, you want a 5-marker on Khums. Right, okay. And do that. Do I know Judaism? I've heard of it. But I'm not going to teach it because that's not what I do at my school. And if that's what you do at your school, get your teacher to do some intervention for you. But this is what we're doing. So, I've corrected the spelling because belief was spelled wrong in that, but it's just a typo. The Incarnation is the most important belief for Christians. Okay, I like this one actually. Yes, I'm doing Islam, and please don't shout at me with capital letters. I'm doing Christianity first, then Islam later. Right. Oh, helps if I spell as well. Christianity first, then Islam. Right. Can I pin a message? There, pin. I'm basically a YouTube pro now. Right, so we'll do Christianity first, then we'll do Islam. I'll go through some quotes for both of them. But no more capital letters. I don't like being shouted at. I'm just here out of my own free will. So, the Incarnation is the most important belief for Christians. I'm not going to do the whole question. That's not the easiest way of doing it. But let's, for you guys, that's going to take too much time. But let's plan out. Yeah, these are all predicted questions, and people are asking you out in the chat. So I've taken every year's past papers, looked at all the questions, and made like a matrix to guess what would come up. So that first 4-marker I just did is a prediction of something that could come up. So I'm trying to do things that I don't think have come up before. But if anyone asks me to do a question in the chat, I will try and go through it now. So the Incarnation, most important belief for Christians. Let's have our agree paragraphs and our disagree paragraphs. So this is a really open question, okay? There's 2 ways they could phrase this question. The Incarnation, most important belief for Christians, or it could be the Incarnation is, helps I do that, is the most important part of Jesus's life. Both of these would be possible 12-mark questions. That wouldn't surprise me. The first one, which I'm going to mark in blue to make it sort of like, obviously that's what I'm talking about. So the blue question is much easier, but I'm going to plan for the bottom one here, which I'm going to make yellow, because our answer for yellow would be appropriate for blue as well. So I agree. Why is the Incarnation so important? Okay. Well, it's the Word of God becoming flesh. Okay. This is important as it is how God is going to teach us all about salvation. Okay, like without this, without the Incarnation, we will not be saved. Okay, we will not be saved. You can write a real basic paragraph, and I don't love it of being like, well, if he isn't born, then nothing else happens. But I just don't think that's a very strong paragraph. Okay, but this is God becoming flesh. It's God coming to earth. And it's a sign that he's going to save us. Without this, he cannot do the miracles on earth to make us follow him. He cannot give us his teachings, okay? Like, it's all very well and good, him dying on the cross to open heaven, but it's his teachings that he does after the Incarnation. It's coming to earth to teach us this, that shows us how to get into heaven. Because him just dying isn't how we get into heaven. All the teachings he has in his life, the parable of the sheep and the goats, the parable of the good Samaritan, love thy neighbour, that's all the stuff that's actually going to get us into heaven. Him dying just opens the door. But if he'd opened the door and not told us what to do to get in there, none of that matters, okay? My second paragraph might be his birth is a miracle that proves God is powerful and loving. So the miracle of the virgin birth is the thing that is going to prove the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, Katie. The Word became flesh and dwelt. Now, you can just put lived. Actually, let's just put lived because it's easier English and it is in some translations. And lived among us. Among us is that game that young children played for a while and everyone got bored of. I don't really know much about it. I'm just going to drink some water. So, his miracle, it proves God is powerful and loving as like his birth itself is a miracle, but it's also a loving act to do to come to earth. So it's proof of God's omnipotence and omnibenevolence. I'm going to use that Jesus is going to be the light to guide us in our lives, that he is the shepherd, and I'm going to be talking about how the shepherds arrived at his birth. I might do the parable of the sheep and the goats in there as well. Yeah, Greenville, that's excellent. Jesus' divinity as he's born through Mary, excellent. Make sure you say that he was born through the Virgin Mary, because if it's just being born through Mary, that just shows he's human, because she's a human being. But it's through the Virgin Mary that it's a miracle that the woman, Mary's meant to be pure because she's a virgin, and that shows his divinity. We were all born through regular people, showing that we are not divine. My mother was lovely, but she was not of a virgin, and so she was not divine, which is one of the reasons, so she was not pure, which is one of the many reasons why I'm not considered divine. Now, my disagree paragraphs, no matter what it was, like you could argue, the first question, the blue question, you could argue tons of stuff. You could be saying that the afterlife's a more important belief, or just the nature of God is a more important belief, which is why I think they're going to focus more on saying it's the most important part of Christ's life. But I would keep my life easy and compare it to other parts of Christ's life. So I would disagree and say the resurrection... Oh, let's not have that bold and underlined. I don't like how that looks. The resurrection is more important and the crucifixion is more important. Now, I want to say the resurrection is more important because this proves the afterlife is real, and that Jesus... and that we can be saved through belief in Jesus, okay? Like, oh, what have I done there? Yeah. So, like, if we do not, if he does not, well, the resurrection is the sign that he is going to come back, that by coming back, he is proving the afterlife exists, okay? That anyone who believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life, okay? So, I'll put that there for you, Katie. Whoever believes in him shall not, that's two ends to die, but have eternal life. Okay. Oh, there's my quote. There's only a load of quotes. Hang on, stop in the chat a second. Can you say that Christianity is a religion not from the Jews and not can take it? You can, Yasin. I just think that's, I'm sorry to say, a weak paragraph overall, because you're not going to say much religious information in it. Your paragraph's going to basically be like, if he wasn't born, nothing happened. But that's the same fact we can say about any human on earth. I just think you're going to be limited in the amount you can say there. I don't mind you putting it in your conclusion. I think that's a nice conclusion addition. But I wouldn't like a whole paragraph about it necessarily. Look, if you haven't got anything else to say, it's going to be fine. It's going to be adequate. But I don't think it's going to be getting you like 10, 11, 12 marks. I just think it's a bit of a weaker paragraph. Can you think of the influence Christians to believe in Christmas? Yeah, you can talk about Christmas. I would talk about that in my evaluation, Evie. I would say that this is a strong argument because the Incarnation is celebrated during the festival of Christmas, and that would be my strong argument, that the festival of Christmas, the biggest festival in the world, celebrates the Incarnation, showing how important it is for Christians. RB Boxer, I will be doing a full thing about Islam practice questions in a bit, so don't panic, I'll be doing that. Yasin, you said the same thing again. Can you argue they're all important to others because they all teach Christians something? You can, Alicia. You absolutely can. Your conclusion can be that every part of Christ's life is important. It's not a bad argument at all. I just think it's always better to come down on some sort of strong argument in this if you can. Okay, there's very few bits where I'd argue that they're all equally important. Maybe the only ones I'd do that with are the Trinity. I'd argue are all equally important. And any parts about the nature of God, I might argue are all equally important. That's the one I would probably do there. I'd probably argue that. If I'm doing this one, Alicia, for most questions where I think it's pretty close, like this one, the Incarnation, by the time I get to my conclusion, I'll have written 2 paragraphs about the Incarnation, one about the crucifixion, one about the resurrection. So as an argument of flowing, I've got far more information on the page about why the Incarnation is most important. So I'm going to come down and agree with this statement just because I'll have written more about it. So I'm going to look at what I've written. I'm like, well, I've got twice as much about the Incarnation as anything else. I'm going to argue the Incarnation is the most important. But, that being said, it's whichever one you feel you've got the most information on and can do the most about. Thank you so much. Soma, yeah, that's no worries. I'm doing it next. Do you think the Islam paper will be easy? No, Fran, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. They're so unpredictable, these exams at the moment. Jesus is Lord. Okay, also said that Jesus as a whole is important, as the Bible says. I'm the resurrection, yeah, and the life and whoever believes in him. Yeah, that's a beautiful quote to do. That's the other one that we could do there. So that's the other one you could throw in there. For this one, that's a lovely quote, creamable. And for some reason, when I copy things off because the font's white on there, of course. That's a lovely quote to do on that. So, the crucifixion, I'm going to argue... so I should read all these messages. Right, you might have to... What's the most important parts of Islam and Christianity? No. Charlie Dunn, there's a lot. I'm just going through questions. I can't teach you the whole course now. Mum's screaming at you for not rising. Good. What are your top tips for 12 markers? Okay, let me finish this question. I'm only doing predicted questions. I'm only doing questions, predicted ones generally. If you run out of time, it's 3 papers. There's no such thing as a 16 marker, Jess. This is AQA. I don't know what a 16 marker is. What do you recommend doing tonight if you're aiming for a 9? Pray. Pray to your Lord God. I don't have a God, but I pray to yours. If this is your last stunt at 9, just get your quotes in order, get your practice in order, and look at 12 markers. 12 markers are the difference between a 9 and an 8. You have to pass your 12 markers. So our paragraph about crucifixion is going to be, it opens heaven. This is going to be my important information. I'm going to say it opens heaven. That's my most important bit, okay? His death atones for sins, and he forgives others on the cross. This is going to be important. I think the crucifix has got so much to say about it, okay? It's going to be like, yes, this is why the crucifixion is so important. His death atones for sins and he forgives others on the cross. Then you got, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Easy quote for that one. And then for my class, and this is what I teach all the time, Dismas, okay? Always mention Dismas, okay? On the cross, he forgives a penitent thief. The thief is called Dismas. And by forgiving him, he is showing that through God's grace we can be forgiven, okay? That through Dismas, we are seeing that the heaven is open, okay? On this day, you will join me in heaven. On this day, I'm opening heaven. The cloth has fallen in the temple and he is joining us in heaven on this day, okay? Lovely. Yeah, I will be. Alicia, I will be trying to do Trinity as well. The more things I can get through, you can the quotes. Yeah, you can paraphrase quotes, Yasin. If you can't remember a quote off by heart, just don't throw quote marks on it and just say, in the Bible it says. So let's say I couldn't remember, whoever believes in him shall not die but have eternal life. And I went, in the Bible it says, anyone who believes in Jesus will not die but will live forever. I would credit that in the exam. That will be credited. Now, a really fussy examiner might be fussy on a 5 marker on it. I wouldn't be. I think that's acceptable. What is actually likely to come up? The things I'm teaching, Mr. City. I mean, I'm very unlikely to teach things that won't come up. That would be insanity if I suddenly started teaching you geography. Like, I'm only going to teach things that are likely to come up. I'd be an idiot if I didn't do that. Right, so, let's have a look at 4 marker for missionary work for Christian practices, because that's what we want to do. Now, let me just have a look at the predictions. Has missionary work come up as a 1? Now, the only thing that I would say, Evie, for missionary work, a 4 marker could be happening. We did have a missionary question. We had last year, we had a 5 marker evangelism question. So I'm unlikely to think that missionary work is going to be a 4 marker. I just don't think that would come up this year. But it could do. They do like to make a 5 marker into a 4 marker. But a missionary work 4 marker is relatively easy, okay? My first paragraph, how else I can spell? Have I put that on the screen? Yeah. My first paragraph is going to be straight away, we have to do missionary work. Jesus said so. In fact, I'll write the paragraph out properly. Okay, so one reason that Christians perform missionary work is that they are following the command. How do I spell command right? The command of Jesus when he said, go and make disciples of all nations. This was his last command before he ascended to heaven. Okay, I'm going to go even further and add more detail. So this shows how important it is for Christians to follow. I spelled Christians wrong, but I'm not going to go back and change it. Like, I've gone over the top with that paragraph. It's definitely getting my 2 marks. I'm doing as much detail as possible in it, okay? Now, my second one is just going to be church growth, okay? Another reason why Christians... Oh, I spelled Christians wrong again. I'm not changing because I'm busy. Christians would do missionary work is that it helps to grow the church. This is considered a good deed as more people will be saved and find Christ's love. Nice and simple. Okay, nothing difficult in there at all. Right, my second prediction, actions are more important than faith. My second prediction. Oh, you think that's going to be the 12 marker? That's not bad, Creamball. Yeah, I don't mind that. That's horrible. What's an easy quote for stewardship? What's an easy quote for stewardship? Rule. No, that's rule over. I guess rule over the birds of the sky and the fish of the sea. The righteous care for the needs of their animals. Is that one? That's not bad for stewardship. Destroy if you're AQA. I think that's more to do with. Oh yeah, that is paper 2. Yeah. What time is live end? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna hopefully go to about 9:30. Oh, Ruby Wright asked that one. The Garden of Eden, work to keep it. Yeah, Yasin, that's a lovely quote. That one. It's a long one, but it's a lovely quote. Thanks, Jason. You guys are teaching for me. Yeah. And yeah, you can use it on Scaffold is right. Rule over the fish and the sea and the birds of the sky. You can use that quote and then be like, because he gave us power over it, we have to look after these things as well. So use Dominion to talk about that as well. That's more a paper 2 thing. Right, so we've got a 4 marker on missionary work there. And what was the last 4 marker someone wanted me to do? Let me double check on this one. Oh, 5 marker on Khums. And Alicia, that's evil. I'm glad you're not writing the exam. That's a vile thing to do to people. Let me just talk about Islam practices. So we did have a 5 marker on Zakat a couple of years ago. So a 5 marker on Khums would be absolutely revolting. You're right. So let's have... what have I done there? Sorry, I've clicked on the wrong thing. Have I done the wrong thing there? Whoopsie. Can you see that question? Can you see the Khums question on the thing? In a 5 marker Peter Pan, I want to have 1 quote. I don't need to waste your time anymore. I want 1 quote, but you must source it. You must say where it's from. So you have to say, this is a quote from the Bible, okay? Otherwise, it is a waste of everyone's time. So please make sure you say it's from the Bible. Or wherever you're saying it's from. You know, not from the Bible if it's not from the Bible, but saying it's from that. Right, a 5 marker on Khums. Right, so I don't mind that. That's not a bad one. But if I was doing a Khums 5 marker, my first one is going to be. I'm just going to be like, Khums is. Let's do it properly, okay? So the 5 marker would be something along the lines of. I think I fixed everything I was doing wrong now. So let's take a 5 marker and redo it. So explain 2 reasons. So it'd be like explain 2 reasons why a Shia Muslim may pay Khums. Now that would be a hard one. It helps if I put a P into explain. Right, so my first and helps if I put the P in the right place. That is embarrassing. Right, so my first paragraph, and I can't see the chat at the moment, so I'm going to try and bring that forward. My first paragraph is going to be relatively simple. I'm going to go 1 reason why Shia Muslims pay Khums is because it is considered a good deed to pay the 20% of your savings to support your community. This is shown by the quote. Why has the chat gone like that? What's happened now? Oh no, what have I done? Okay, I'll just leave that. God is well aware of everything you do. I'm going for a simple quote, okay? Which shows everyone is obligated to do good deeds to support others. I'm going simple, okay? Because Khums is hard, so I'm not going to go too specific on it, okay? Another reason why Khums is performed by Shia Muslims is because it is one of the 10 obligatory acts. These 10 acts are done to support the Shia faith and are obligatory, which means they must be performed. Right, there we go. Right, okay, arms are meant for the poor and needy. Yeah, that's a nice one. Arms are meant for the poor and needy. Wasn't what I was going to go for, but that's a nice one as well. I think that's a nice one. The only thing about arms is meant for the poor and needy is Khums offers like a wider thing, but yeah, I think you'd get away with that, and I think it'll be fine. Miss Goody said there could be a 12 marker on Johan being the most important. Carla, I don't know what that means. What the hell is Johan? What's Johan? Who's Johan? Yeah, she maybe meant Johan. There's a belief called Johan. I meant Jihad. Yeah, you panicked me there. I was like, who the hell is Johan? Charity does not decrease your wealth. Yeah, that's a nice one, Yasin. That's a lovely quote. Charity does not decrease your wealth. Don't go for that. Is that correct from the Quran? Yeah, from the Quran. Does for the poor and needy work? Yeah, it does, Alicia. That one works. Oh, yes. Is it from the Hadith? Oh, I do apologise. Sorry. There you go. Charity does not decrease your wealth from the Hadith. So that is a more difficult one. Do apologise. My third prediction. Right, Cream Ball, you're just throwing in predictions now. The best way for Christians to reach an understanding of God is by practicing prayer. Yeah, have I got that? I've got a similar one in my prediction list for Christian practices. Okay. I've just realised I've done Islam. I was meant to be doing Islam second. Right, that's I think it was Alicia Senior's fault. Right, let's throw in another Christian 12 marker. So I had one already stored up. So right, actually, done that one. Right, let's do something vile. Someone asked for some Trinity. Let's do some vile Trinity questions. Right. Absolutely repulsive Trinity questions. I love something repulsive. It's how I live my life, repulsively. Right, so I've got that question set up. I do that. Right, okay. Put that there, that there. Right, we're fine. Right, so I'm just going to have some water because even though I've only been talking 25 minutes, it feels like I'm doing this for 3 hours. It's very warm today. I've got something in my eye. Oh. Oh, I love water. Right, so I think this question's really mean because it involves you learning so much about the Trinity and creation and not getting yourself all muddled up. But that is the way of it. So this is a 12 marker. Yeah, this is a 12 marker. Destroyer. So 12 marker. The Father had the most important role in creation. So I love the fact you guys are very good at telling people what's going on. I don't need to respond to everything in the chat because I've got smart people in there. So we've got our agree, our disagree. Now, I think this is the only fair way they could do this question, to say the Father had the most important role in creation. Because we're going to have 2 paragraphs saying Father, and Father being the most important. Because arguing that the Son and the Holy Spirit had the most important role in creation is really difficult, in my opinion, at this stage. Okay, so we've got a Son paragraph and a Holy Spirit paragraph, and doing 2 on either of those. If it said the Holy Spirit had the most important role in creation, I think that's super mean. So no, of course paper 1 is, no, paper 1 can't, no, paper 1's not only Islam, paper 1 is Islam and Christianity. For my school, I'm only doing for my school, which is Islam and Christianity. If you go to a different school, I don't know what you're doing, right, you'll be doing probably Christianity tomorrow. Right, yes, so that's exactly, in the beginning, that's Cream Ball, that is exactly what I want for that second paragraph about the Son. But, oh, none of them are passing RE. Crazy. That's a shame. Okay, guys, well, has blocked as none of you are passing, so that's the end of it. I didn't realise it was so pointless. My sense of ennui and existential dread filled the room. So, why is the Father most important, okay? Right, so, the Father is the representation of God's omnipotence, okay? Through this, all things are created. And then I'm going to do let there be light. Okay, like that is going to be my first sort of like paragraph. I think that's a really easy way of sort of easing my way into this one. So I think that's like the first like thing I'm going to do. Let there be light. Like that is for me the most important thing to do straight away. Yeah, I think that's not bad on Lord being the judge for that, but you're going to have to link it back to creation, don't forget. So it's not, I don't think it's a bad idea, Sky, to say, like, Lord the judge, but, like, linking it back to creation is going to be the hardest one, okay? So if I was going to do that one, let's take that paragraph, Sky. You really want to say the Lord is the judge, and that's the point you're going to make. You're struggling a little bit, okay? So I might be like, the Father, most important role in creation, when the Father created man, God created man in his own image, getting that right in there, he became a figure of judgment over them. This is important as he will judge whether whether we go to heaven or hell. I mean, that's how I do it. Because if you just say that, that's saying he's the judge is saying, well, the Father's the most important part of the Trinity. And that's really good. I like that. I don't know. Okay, I don't know what that means, Abs, but I'm having a nice time. So, I think if you're going to do that judgment paragraph, Lord is the judge, you've got to then link it back to him creating mankind, and that being why that being the reason why he's the most important part of creation. You've got to link it all back to creation. Okay, that for me is the most important bit. Right. So, why is the Son the most important part? Now we had that. Okay. The quote you want to be using, you're basing it all around that. Okay. In the beginning was... Oh, I've spelled beginning. Look at that idiotic word. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. Okay. Now, this is showing that Jesus has been present since the start of creation. It is through his words that the world is made. Now, yes, we're incredible. We're an incredible department. We're all very beautiful, especially me. Me the most beautiful. Now, for this question, if this came up like this, I am going to be saying that the Father's the strong argument and the Son and the Holy Spirit are weak arguments, okay? Because I'm going to be like, though the Son is an important part of creation, he's present, he does not seem to have such an active role in creation as the Father, okay? So I'm going to be saying weak argument, okay? That's going to be my evaluation of that. I'm going to be weak arguing that one, which is perfect because you've already done 2 paragraphs about the Father. You're going to probably conclude the Father's most important. So having the Son being there isn't that big a deal. Having that not being that interesting a paragraph isn't a big deal because you're saying it's a weak argument anyway. That's going to be part of your evaluation, okay? And then you'll be saying about the Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit hovered over the waters. Now, I was going to spell waters. Now, that shows the Holy Spirit interacted directly with the world during creation. This could show he is the most important aspect. Now, once again, I think this is a weak argument, okay? I think it's a weak argument, all right? The Holy Spirit is generally considered to represent God's omnipresence and his immanence on the earth, rather than his power to create. And I'll be linking that all back, being like, however, when Christians talk about creation, they're normally talking about the Father making things, and without the Father's power to create, in this sense, the world not be created. And then I might be in my conclusion, however, all 3 parts of the Trinity will be useful to create, though it does seem by most teachings that the Father had the most active role in the physical creation of the world. Right, okay. Okay, chopped, don't know what that means. An amazing understanding on the context, how I struggle on the format. Don't know what that means, Abs. The format of what? The format of how to do a 12 marker. I can go over that if you want. In was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was God. Yeah, look, that's a great quote, Greenville. I just think for the purpose of this question, I'm going to be arguing that's a weak argument because it behooves me, because it helps me, because I'm going to be writing more about the Father. So I'm just going to be saying the Word was with God, ending my quote there, and being like, bang, this is a weak argument. The examiner's not going to be picking you up on more than that. I don't know what that means. Why is Jesus important for creation? Yeah, you're going to be, because he's present, he's the Word of God. So the Word of God is there acting through it. So the world is created through the Word of God. What units are coming up? Well, I'm teaching Christianity and Islam because that's what my students are doing. Year 11s have no remorse. This brother's chopped. I don't know what that means. Explain the triangle. How is God the Son of God? Explain the triangle, and that's maths. Right, have you predicted a question about evil coming up? Yeah, I think I've got a question on evil coming up, though, if I remember rightly, we had one on... When was the last year we had one on evil? So, yeah, 12 marker in 2019, so we could have one on evil. Let's have a look if I've got any in my list. I haven't, but we can do one on evil, Izzy. Oh, yeah. Look, you can easily trick me with young people phrasing. It doesn't really matter to me because, like, okay. Right, like, what does it matter? I'm an old man doing a revision session for my students. Like, oh no, someone tricked me about something I don't know. Oh, how will I ever recover? So, let's have a look at this 12 marker. So, Evie wants to do one about evil. So, let's do something like... rejecting, or it is, how would they phrase it? Because it's going to not be exactly the same as the 2019 one, which we've used loads of time. The afterlife is only for those who have never committed and who've never sinned. They're not going to do it like that. Or the original sin, right? So it might be the original sin one, like evil is the biggest source of evil is original sin. Well, that'd be an awful one. Right, so Alicia, you can talk about moral and natural evil, but there's not going to be a question where it comes up saying moral evil and natural evil. You're just going to reference those in other questions. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I don't know what unkis him means. Tawheed, most importantly, B. I don't know what that means. Why it says hi. Okay. So you're actually so tough it's scary. Your intelligence is frightening. That's not true. Just a scared old man. Please can we go through the structure of 12 marker? Yeah, I can go through the structure of 12 marker. What's atonement? Atonement is to be at one with God. So I've sinned. I'm away from God. And I must atone for my sins. I must do things to become back with God and atone and be close to God. That's how I'm going to atone for my sins. When Jesus died on the cross, it atoned for everyone's sins. So all of humanity had gone away from God because of the original sin. And then Jesus dies and it atones and we are brought back to God. And the ultimate atonement is when God will forgive me and bring me to heaven. I will be literally at one with God. Atonement, at one. Sir Knight Pros, don't know what that means. Sir, do you know what that is? No, never seen that word. Tawheed is the most important belief for Muslims. But we'll do Islam later. I'll do Islam from 8:30 onwards. Jesus' death was necessary. It was a necessary atonement, I think. Yeah, that is certainly what is taught in the Bible. Is the night journey a thing? No, the night journey is a thing, darling. Night journey is when Muhammad goes and visits the prophets and learns how to pray, riding the horse al-Barak. Yeah, I will do a 12 marker structure. So on this one, we'll do the biggest source of evil is original sin, which I don't think would come up, but like it's worth just talking about evil in this form. So let's do a structure to show how we would do it, okay? So I do, and I don't know what your teachers teach you at your schools, okay? I don't know Catholic Christianity. Whoever's doing Catholic Christianity, go and speak to your teacher. I ain't doing Catholicism. That's difficult. There's a pope and stuff. Right. Right. That will be you blocked. All right. 24-hour block. Right. Bye. So. It's the structure. I'm going to do 5 paragraphs. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now 5 is going to be my conclusion. Okay, that's my conclusion. Overall, the strongest argument is. Okay, now, what I'm going to do for my ideal structure is I want probably my, like, it depends how I'm going to do this, but I'm probably going to start by agreeing, okay? So I'm probably going to do an agree, okay? And then I'm going to do my disagree, and then repeat that again. Agree, disagree. Okay, that's going to be my structure, okay? And with each of these, I'm going to make the points I can, as much as I can say in it, and I'm going to try and end with an evaluate. If I'm going for 12 out of 12 marks, and that's what we should all be aiming for, obviously, that's what my class are aiming for, then I'm going to try and link that to my next paragraph, okay? So, the biggest source of evil is original sin. Oh, I keep doing that. I'm so stupid. Okay, so let's see if we can write this first paragraph, okay? So, some Christians, this is awful writing, believe that the fall of man, when Eve was tempted to eat the forbidden fruit, is when evil was introduced into the world, and this has been the biggest source of evil since. Eve's sin meant that mankind was punished and rejected from the Garden of Eden, showing how serious this sin was. Humanity was forever marked with the original sin which all humans are born with today, and for many Christians, spelled wrong again, can only, helps me spell, only be removed through the holy waters during baptism. Look how much I've actually said in that one. I'm not giving a quote, but there's so much religious knowledge in that one. Okay. Oh, I wish I'd put the word Genesis in there, so I'm going to throw that back. I'm going to say the word Genesis in that story because that's going to be some of my key terms. Okay. Right. So then I want to link it to my next paragraph. So it's maybe not the best paragraph ever. Okay. I'm not going to be like, that's perfect. Right. So I'm then going to go, however, oh, how to spell? However, this is a weak argument, because during this story in the Bible, it is the devil who tempts Eve to sin in the first place. And this shows that it is the devil who is the greatest source, help me spelling, of sin. Right, and that's going to take me, this is hard to read at that point, I hope you can read this, okay? And that's going to lead me into my second paragraph, okay? Which is going to be about the devil, right? So, this is my structure. I'm doing my agree paragraph, and then, a comma after however, you know this, Minton. A comma, and then I'm going to use this little like sub bit. I might add it on the end of my paragraph, I might do it as its own paragraph, it depends how large my paragraphs are, but this little bit of evaluation, I'm going to mark my evaluation in green. That's going to be the bit that links my paragraphs together. That's what gets you up to like 12 marks. The examiner wants logical chains of reasoning. And so if you can link one paragraph to the next paragraph, that is showing those logical chains of reasoning. Why am I saying this next point about the devil? I'm saying it because I linked it with the previous paragraph, okay? I've made this logical leap. Here is my paragraph about original sin. Why am I talking about original sin? Well, I'm talking about how the devil inspired original sin by tempting Eve, and then I'm doing a whole paragraph about the devil next, okay? Right. Is this similar to Excel? No idea. Yeah, look, I don't... Oh my god, there's so many comments. Right, we'll do Islam next. I don't know what the knee thing means. Who else is doing... yeah, I hope lots of you are doing that tomorrow. St. Augustine, when Adam sinned, sin entered the world. Yeah, I mean, if you're busting out St. Augustine, you're doing some good work there. Fair play. What topic is egg creation, incarnation, true in God redemption? Yeah, wouldn't know what that means. Jams. I know you can make up quotes. Making up quotes isn't the worst idea if you're completely stuck. But as someone said earlier, if in doubt, just say in the Bible it says, and say things that are vaguely biblical, and I think you're on a stronger footing. If you make up a quote and the examiner is Christian or just knows their Bible really well, or bothers to Google it, they're going to go, well, this person's blagging it, I'm not going to credit that. However, if you say in the Bible it says, and then say something that you are fairly certain will be in the Bible, it's often really hard for the examiner to prove that sort of vibe is not in the Bible. And they'll go, oh yeah, I know what they're getting at. So if in doubt, don't make up the quote, make up the paraphrase. This is what it says in the Bible. I don't know what that means. 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 What in Christianity is this? Evil, my friend. Suffering produces perseverance. Could that be a possible quote for disagree? Yeah, but that's more like why evil's good rather than the biggest source of evil is original sin. No worries. Search. If I do 3 paragraphs, one agree, yeah, one disagree. Yeah, look, AR, there's no one correct one. I teach 5 paragraphs because I like the logical chains of reasoning, evaluating back and forth. I think it makes your conclusion less important because you'll have more evaluation all the way through. However, I've marked 12 markers that are 3 paragraphs and that are full 12 marks. Like, it's obviously a way of doing it. I think it makes it slightly easier to go back and forth because you can show those logical chains of reasonings easier and go, I'm going from one argument to the other argument with my evaluation showing why I'm going there. And I think that's harder to do when you've got a big block of a paragraph than a big block of a paragraph. Now, that's just my opinion. That gives you less chances to do that evaluation. Personal opinion. But they're both methods that can get you to full 12 marks. Could there be a 12 mark on imamate? Yeah, of course there could be a 12 mark on imamate, but we're doing that after it. Don't know what that means. Brother said e.g. not egg. Okay, right, well, I don't know what that sentence means. Am I allowed to shout? I don't know what that means. Yeah. Alright, let's... Alright. So can you come to... I don't know what cuckoo hall is. Can I link free will to... Yeah, link free will to original sin, definitely. And I would say that free will being the biggest source of sin would be the other one, right? Right, so... I mean, yeah, it could be. I mean, I just made it up on the spot there, so it's not my best bit of work. I've got better questions I would rather have gone through today, but someone wanted one about evil, so I just tried to put one in there. I'm going to stop this one there, then I'll do a paragraph about the devil, then I'll do another one about original sin, and I will be talking about, what did I talk about on that one, original sin? How I'll talk specifically about Jesus' atonement, making up for it, and that's why it's the biggest source of all sin, because Jesus had to die to make up for it. And then I'll do one about free will. How the biggest source of sin, even after Jesus died and atoned for our sins and we can be forgiven, there is still evil in the world, and that evil comes from free will, that people do evil acts. That's probably what I do. And overall, the strongest argument is, I would probably argue, if I was doing this one, that I'd probably argue that the original sin is the biggest source of evil in the world, that if Adam and Eve hadn't sinned in the Garden of Eden, then there would be no evil in the world. We would live in the perfection of the garden, and so there would be no evil in the world at all. So I'd probably argue that. That's probably what I do. Do I have to write each paragraph? Albert, you don't have to. Okay, there's no reason you have to. However, like, if you want to make your life easier and you've got time to do it, that is an answer that's going to scream 12 marks to an examiner. Like, if they see that you've evaluated each paragraph, even with just a sentence, you can do that. I think conclusions are really hard to write at speed, because you've got to evaluate things that you wrote maybe 10 minutes ago and link back to it. So if you're evaluating as you go, it also puts a lot less pressure on your conclusion, in my opinion. 12 mark on Eucharist. Let me see what I've got. I'm going to do one of the 12 markers I've planned, because I have planned predicted questions for Christianity. So I'm going to do one of those, if that's okay. If I've got one on Eucharist, then I will see. So there's one that could work for Eucharist, so which I call communion rather than Eucharist, because I suspect that's what the exam board will call it if they do a question on it. So, let's make that a bit bigger. Bom, 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 bom. So, there we go. The sacraments are the best way to get close to God. That would be a 12-mark question. I'm not going to write out the rest of the gubbins in there. What is Eucharist? Communion, fan. It's just a posh way of saying communion. So they sometimes call it Eucharist, but it's called communion or mass, but we just call it communion in ours. Evaluate. As a film repeating yourself, can you possibly find an example? Yeah, I'll do an example on this paragraph, Albert. Game over, game over, game over. And Evie and Alicia Senior, the senior sisters, come in with Holy Communion, because I guess I'm on a bit of a delay, so my answer doesn't come through in that. I'm getting bored of that person just talking absolute nonsense, so we are going to get rid of you. Bang. Right, so I've worked out how to... Is that when the body becomes bread and wine blood? Yes, that is when the body becomes bread and wine blood. It doesn't become wine blood. But I know what you're saying. You're saying the right thing. Just a strange way of saying it. So the sacraments are the best way for a Christian to get close to God, okay? So the sacraments are our outward signs of inner grace, okay? It's the things that we do to please God. Now, there are 7 sacraments. We don't need all of them. We do need communion. We do need baptism. And in the themes paper, you're going to need marriage, okay? Now, the other 4 you don't need, which are like ordination, anointing the sick, atonement, but through confession, because we don't teach directly about that, and what have I missed? Confirmation. Those are the other ones that are like part of those. You could talk about these in there, but you don't need to, because we don't have to learn them. So these are the 3 that you should know about. And actually for this exam, you only need to really know about communion and baptism. They're the only 2 they're going to ask directly a question about. So if the question said the sacraments are the best way for a Christian to get close to God, I'm loving that, because I've got 2 opportunities to talk about this. So I'm going to do my agree, my disagree, my agree, and we'll do a perfect paragraph on these, and my disagree, okay, and then my conk. So my agree paragraph, I'm going to do communion as my first agree paragraph. That's going to be my first agree paragraph, and we'll write that paragraph out because I want to do communion. I'll do a perfect communion paragraph, or, as close as I can when I'm sweating in my kitchen teaching RE on a computer after I've taught a full day in school. Oh, it's tiring. And my disagree ones, I've just got to say 2 other ways that Christians can get close to God that aren't sacraments. Well, what things aren't sacraments? Well, prayer's not a sacrament directly, so I'm going to say prayer is one of them. And what's something I know a lot about and I feel comfortable with? Well, it's a 12 marker. I might look through the 4 and 5 markers and see what I've written, and see if there's anything I can sort of copy again and be like, oh cool, I wrote a really good paragraph earlier, and let's say there's a pilgrimage question. Perfect, I'm going to write a pilgrimage paragraph because I've already said this stuff. I don't have to rethink about it. I can just do that. Right, I don't like that. Right. if you're doing annoying things in the chat, I'm not smart enough to do much about it. I'm just going to make you go away so I can't see it anymore. Yeah, I don't know what these things are. So the good thing is, I think the hide button means they think they're still chatting and no one else can see their messages. It's lovely. So they're just shouting into the void, which is how I like to punish people, just making their lives seem slightly more pointless. So, right, this got recommended to me. Okay, that's fine. Have I missed anything important? Transubstantiation, yes, and someone told you to it. Oh, you do EdXL? Yeah, I don't do EdXL. Unlucky. Do some AQA. Get your teacher to teach a better course. Right, EdXL's crazy. Now, I just don't know it. Right, so let's do a communion paragraph. Are there a few quotes of pilgrimage? Pilgrimage is rubbish for quotes because it all comes after, like the Bible. So I'll give you a quote that you can use. But if in doubt for pilgrimage, faith without action is dead, and save it for pilgrimage. Because on a one like this, you've not used faith without action is dead and be like, oh, this is really important because it's a big effort to do faith without action is dead. So let's do a communion paragraph of why communion is the best way to get close to God, but using it as a sacrament. Okay, so let's try and do an actual good paragraph. So some Christians would agree and do evaluation, which someone wants me to do, would agree with this statement as communion can be seen as an excellent way to get close to God and is one of the 7 sacraments. But I've spelled sacraments wrong there. By performing, communion, Christians are copying the acts of Christ during the Last Supper and remembering his commands. Jesus says, do this in remembrance of me, showing that it is important to remember Jesus through these actions, and this will bring us closer to God. Right, so that's not bad. I'm going to do that, okay. Catholics also believe that they become closer to God as the bread and wine become literal flesh and blood through the miracle of transubstantiation. Right, phew. I spelled Christian wrong, but I spelled transubstantiation right. Right, so I've put a load of stuff in there. It's nice, okay. I could have added the quote, eat this bread for it is my body, drink this wine for it is my blood. I could use more quotes in there, but I'm trying to do it a little bit quickly. Okay, then I'm going to do my evaluation. I like to do my evaluation as a little separate paragraph, okay? That's what I like to see when I'm marking. Just makes my life easier. I also think you're trying to make the examiner's life easier because they're marking this quickly. They're marking hundreds of these papers, so if they can see 5 paragraphs and tiny bits of evaluation there, they're like, oh, baby, yes, this person's made my life easy. I can spot the evaluation really quickly. Thank you. Tick, tick, bang. I'm giving this person the mark. So, however, this could be seen as I'll do one as a weak argument, one as a strong argument. As a weak argument, now, let's see how we can make it a weak argument. As there are many other ways to get close to God that do not involve having to travel to a church, which is not possible for all people. Okay, so I'm going to do my evaluation saying, hang on a minute, this isn't the best way to get close to God because not everyone can do this because you've got to go to a church to do it. You can't just start guzzling wine and eating bread at home. Otherwise, I'm doing communion every weekend. And that's not true. I don't like wine. It's red and weird. I don't understand it. They do love bread. But there's my evaluation. Now I'm going to link that into as God is omnipresent, the best way to get close to him should be possible from all locations. Right, so that's going to link me to this, okay? and then I'm going to do prayer. This is going to be too small to read, I fear. So I'm going to put that up there and try and make it as big as possible. We'll do that all the way down to there. Yeah, and if I take off, does that help if I do that? No. Right, so then I'll link to prayer and be like, I won't write the whole prayer paragraph, I might do the first one, okay? Some Christians, spelled wrong again, may agree that prayer is a more appropriate way to get close to God, as it can be done in all places through private prayer. And then I'm going to use a quote. I'm not going to say it just like this. I'll fit it into the answer properly. Go into your room, close the door, and pray. I'm going to write a whole paragraph about why private prayer is really good. It gets you close to God. It's a personal prayer, so you can say what you want and you can build a personal relationship with God. You're not following what's in the communion, in the liturgy, so you can actually do something that's personal to you rather than saying generic. And then my evaluation for that one, let's do one more evaluation, okay? So imagine I wrote a full paragraph of this, okay? I'm going to write there, etc., etc. Like, finish this paragraph properly, okay? And go, however, this can also be seen as a weak argument, as the Bible also tells people that where 2 or 3 gather in my name, I am with them. Okay, so, like, this shows that private prayer is not the best way to get close to God, as it would be better to pray together. Right, bang. Right, okay, let's do this. Lord's Prayer for disagree. Yeah, you definitely could have done Lord's Prayer for disagree. I just went 1-1 there. I don't know what tongue ahoy is. Is that one of those brain rot things? I suspect it is. No, this is not Catholic Christianity. Oh my god. Night Jenny. Yeah, I can do about Night Jenny. I don't know where the last bit of chat was that I saw. Where 2 or 3 gather my name. Yeah, that's exactly for pilgrimage. Yeah, you could do that for pilgrimage. Desley, I think that's a really good one for pilgrimage, and that's a smart quote to be using there. I like that a lot. You know, when Jesus crucified on the cross, was it sacrifice or a different reason? It was atonement. He sacrificed himself to atone for everyone's sins. Marks of weakness, marks of woe. Don't know what that means. I think that tongue to whore thing is a brain rot thing, but I'm too old to really know what that means. Lord's Prayer for disagree. Yeah, I said that. Millions and millions of John and Eva Smiths. Don't know what that means. Would you have to include the Catholic belief? You don't have to include the Catholic belief. I'm just going over the top there because someone in the chat mentioned transubstantiation. Everyone, okay, that's great. For form 5 marker, can I do 2 paragraphs? Yeah, I want you to do paragraphs. No, I'm not at Excel. 2 paragraphs for 4 marker is mad work. It's exactly what you should be doing. Would the Lord's Prayer be a disagreement? Yes, it would. Sorry, I refer this guy to that zesty bloke. Okay, I don't know what zesty means. I do like lemons. Could you do he who sings prayers twice? Yeah, it's not what I teach, but I like that. What is Christianity? Good question. Could you also show examples of evaluation at the end of each paragraph? Yeah, I think I have there. The evaluation I'm going to highlight in yellow, so that's the evaluation. So I hope that's helped you out. I've highlighted it in green, and I've done another evaluation there. That's all you're looking for, nothing more complicated than that. Right, so what oil do you use in your hair? It's gorgeous. I don't use oil in my hair. I don't know what that means. I thought you do 1 paragraph on agree and then on disagree and inclusion. Panic. There's no one way of doing it. Some schools teach that. I teach a 5 paragraph method. That's how I do it at my school. That's the easy one. Right. I don't know what any of these means. Right. How many quotes you need to include 12 marker? I'd want at least 1 quote per paragraph. That's what I'd do. Do shave regularly. Yeah, semi. Yeah, I haven't done a 12 jihad marker. I'll do it in a bit. I'll do a 12 one for when I do Islam, which will be starting in 2 minutes. Right, let's start just doing some of these, because then I can make my life easier. Right. Make my life easier. Right. Ooh. Just block a load of people. Make my life easier to do this. Not sure why you would want to come in here. These are all my predictions. Every question I'm doing is a prediction for the exam. Oh, King of Kings, Nero Cold Command. Yeah, why are you quoting Ozymandias at the moment? Or however you ever say his name. It's a weird one. Right. So, weird. I don't know. People have a lot of time on their hands. It's always nice. I don't quite know what's wrong with people, but, you know, everyone's living their own life. So let's do some Islam. And someone wanted to do a Jihad 12 marker, and then someone wanted to do an imamate 12 marker. So, let's do a Jihad 12 marker and knock that one out. Everyone loves a 12 marker. So, the Jihad is the greatest duty that any Muslim has. I think this is a nice question. Now, I think there's a few ways round that I would approach this question. And it's obviously not the direct one. It doesn't have to be this one. But there's a few ways that we could get around this question. The Jihad is the greatest duty Muslims have. You've got the idea of doing greater Jihad, and you've got the idea of lesser Jihad. Now, I would start by thinking, am I going to end up agreeing with this or disagreeing with this statement? Because it doesn't really matter which way round you do it. It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree. If I'm going to be saying this statement is wrong, and I'm saying there's a greater duty to Muslims, for example, I'm going to be saying the 5 pillars are the greatest duty a Muslim has, and they should be doing these things instead of the jihad, I'm probably going to focus my paragraphs on the lesser jihad, because I don't want to put the greater jihad in there. It's too strong an argument. However, I think I'm going to argue that the greater jihad is the greatest duty a Muslim has, because part of doing the greater jihad is to follow the 5 pillars. So I think that just makes your life easier if you're saying that, okay? Like we're going for the most... Hello, Doug. You come in here, babes. Underneath. If you're... Oh, come in, baby. If you're saying that like the greater jihad is the most important thing, then you can include talking about the 5 pillars in that. And then you can do your against arguments. Oh, your against arguments. You're going to need a bed. Your against arguments can be like other duties like the 5 pillars, and then pick one of the 5 pillars, whichever one you feel most comfortable talking about, and then being like, however, this is a weak argument because by performing the greater jihad, you would be achieving this pillar anyway. So I don't mean that. Imamate would be a source of authority one. I can say, Evie, I'd love you to say Hajj is the greater duty. No, I don't know Buddhism quotes. What the hell is Buddhism doing? Of course, I only know Christianity and Islam. I don't know anything about Buddhism. It's not my job. I can try and do a 12 marker on festivals. Yeah, last year I got 3 questions right for the exam. So hopefully I can do the same this year. But some of those were in themes. You never guessed I had a pet dog. I mean, what animal did you assume that I had? A wolf? So let's do a nice paragraph on the greater. Let's structure this, okay? How we would do it. So we're going to have an agree, a disagree, an agree, a disagree. Now, don't think of it like an actual logical question. I know that sounds stupid, but think of it as what gives you the most opportunity to say the most things, okay? So the jihad is the greatest duty that any Muslim has. I'm actually going to go the other way around in it and do my disagree paragraphs first, because I want to end with my strongest paragraph, which I think is an agree one. So I'm going to do a disagree, an agree, a disagree, and agree, okay? So my agree here, my last point is my strongest one, greater jihad is going to be my paragraph there. My first agree here is going to be lesser jihad. I know that sounds a bit mad to start with the lesser jihad. Okay, my disagree here is going to be, I know a lot about Hajj, I'm going to put Hajj in here. And my one here is going to be about, let's say, Salah. I don't mind Salah. Whichever pillar I feel most comfortable about, okay? So, I don't think that would be a really good one to do, Tony, because I think that question has come up before, almost word for word. Let me just double check. I have my little list of past paper questions here. Islam, source of authority, Quran. Oh, Holy Books, and that was all the way back in 2018. There was one very similar to that. So yeah, maybe I could look at that one as one. 2018, there was a very similar question asked. So let's just quickly do what I'll do for this one. I don't think we need to do a paragraph about Hajj now, why Hajj is the greatest duty, okay? But my quote I'll be using is, a pilgrimage to the house is a duty owed to God. And the points I'm going to be making is like, it remembers Ibrahim, gets you closer to Allah, equality, all people are doing the same thing. This is why it's the greatest duty. It's effort, shows dedication. like that's the things I'm going to be saying in that paragraph. Okay, I'm going to be going like this is the important thing. Now, however, this is my evaluation. I think these are different ones. However, how was I to type the right ones? This is a weak argument. As now, there's a few things I say that Hajj being the most important pillar, the most important duty a Muslim has. This weak argument, I might be like, as not everyone has the ability to take part in Hajj. That wouldn't be bad. Okay, I think that's a pretty good one. If you want to be really fancy in this one, you could be like, oh, because like, well, I might put this one. Well, I'm going to do that later. I'm going to try and be really smug on this one. I think that not everyone's ability to take part in Hajj is a financial cost. That money could be best spent in other places, but it's my evaluation. I'm just doing a little bit there for my evaluation. So at the end, hello humour, I'll put in all my predicted questions into the chat if that helps. I'll put all my predicted questions onto the thing, and I'll do all of my ones because I will run out of time because I will need to sleep one day and hopefully wake up again, but you never know. It might be time for me to be taken. Now, my lesser jihad paragraphs can be relatively simple. I'll do a bit more of this one. Some Muslims may claim that the lesser jihad is the most important duty that all Muslims have, as it is a responsibility to protect the faith. If Muslims do not uphold the lesser jihad, then it may not be possible in the future to perform duties such as Hajj, as cities like Mecca may have been attacked. Like, that's a nice point I'm making. The lesser jihad, I'm going to use the quote, fighting is prescribed to you. Okay, like this is important, and then like how I'm going to write more than that. Like on this, I'm going to say loads more than that. etc. Like write loads about the lesser jihad. Okay, like write loads more, and then I'm going to do my evaluation. People seem to struggle with evaluation. However, this is a weak argument, as Muhammad said that the lesser jihad was over and the greater jihad had begun. Right, so I'm setting the scene for later. Then I'm going to say actually Salah's the most important. I'm not going to write about Salah right now. And then greater jihad, okay? By following this, I am going to try and complete all pillars. Like that's the point I'm going to make here. The greater jihad is the most important duty because by following the greater jihad, I'm going to try and perform all the pillars because it's my duty to be a good Muslim, my duty to like do good deeds and follow my faith. So I'm going to do all the other pillars within it. That's the paragraph I'm going to finish on because that's going to lead me to our conclusion, which the greater jihad is the most important duty. That is how I would do this. And rather than my evaluation at the end be, however, this is a weak argument, how like this, I would say, however, I then go like, this is a strong argument because that would be my lion's bit on that one. Okay, right, let's go through these. What's the questions? I'll do that. Praying for predestination, Katie, I know you are. Can you do a 12 marker? But the thing about predestination, Katie, if there is predestination, then Allah has already chosen the questions on the exam, so you can't do anything about praying for it because it has already been chosen. Nothing happens except by Allah's will, so the questions have been chosen, and if He has chosen predestination question, then it's already chosen, inshallah. Again, I think there was some other 12 markers people wanted me to do on Islam as well. See if I can get that time on Tony. Fran, I wouldn't have a gecko. I don't like lizards. Well, greater jihad is the one where you follow the religion every day, doing the right thing every day. Lesser jihad is fighting. The greater jihad is doing the right thing every day. The way I've taught George to remember this is, the little man is fighting because he's angry, and we always say the little man always wants to fight. The bigger man walks away from the fight. The greater jihad is to walk away from it. So it's just getting dark in here. I'm going to turn the lights on. Oh, I'm old. I'm feeble. I'm weak. Right. Oh, excellent. Right. What was I going to say about predestination? Katie, let's see what predestination questions I have predicted. So, yeah, we haven't had predestination one in ages, so we'll have a look at predestination one. Now, a 12 mark on predestination would be absolutely horrible. Oh, Katie. I mean, we can look at something absolutely disgusting if you want. Right, this, I said before, a question like this might make me cry and just walk until I reach the ocean and never stop walking. You'd hear about a man who'd walked out to sea. Yeah, that Hajj quote's from the Quran. So, oh my God, Katie in the booklet. Oh yeah. Here's the 12 marker. It's on the booklet as well. It's the last one. Oh, good. I'm glad I made that booklet, Katie. I don't know if it's similar to Educash. I don't teach Educash. Don't remember making any jokes about Islam there. Could you quickly go through the angels, which is which? Yeah, sure thing. No, not for ethics at all. No, it's not. I don't know if it's similar to Educash. I don't teach Educash. I didn't say inshallah in a joking way at all. I meant inshallah in that sense. That is how you'd use the word inshallah. Right. So, predestination means there is no human freedom. Okay. You'd like this question. Okay, I don't like this question because I think it's really limiting on the amount you can say, especially quotes-wise. It's really limiting you for quotes. So, yeah, exactly. Scav has identified the things that you're going to say, but I think that's really, like, you don't have much to say here, okay? So, might agree, because it's actually, the exam board is doing you a disservice by putting predestination in here, because predestination is like an A-level style topic. It is such a deep and complicated concept, because, like, it's such a deep and complicated concept because, like, you're talking about, like, the whole, like, idea that we have the freedom to control things and we have free will, and that's massive. And, like, it puts you in such a disservice because writing about it for any length of time means you're going to have to discuss quite complex things. And even within Islam, like, Sunni Muslims do believe in free will, but it's very complicated. So writing about this, to pass this exam, you're going to have to simplify this a lot. Yeah, I will, Scarlett. I'll try and do it with my mate as well. Don't know what it means. Yeah, A-level is tough. So, firstly, why I'm agreeing with this? Okay, so I'm going to do Sunni as my agreeing with this. Okay, now, is this strictly the Sunni view on predestination? No, it's a very poor explanation of the Sunni view on Islam, Sunni view on predestination, but it's good enough for us to get marks on this exam. Okay, it's good enough for us to pass it. You can Leafy, but that is such a higher level thought than most students are going to be going into. If you can do that, yeah, amazing. But that is so high level, and most schools will not have put anywhere near that amount of time into predestination compared to other places. Predestination is the idea that Allah has planned all things out. Okay, so whatever Allah has willed will happen. Okay, no one dies except by Allah's leave. Okay, so no soul will die except by Allah's leave. Like, this is like Allah's making a decision for that. Yeah, Allah has set a path for everyone. Excellent, Will. If that's Will Kingsley, I'm very impressed with you. As I always am, Will. You know you're a wonderful human, and I predict only good things for you as a human being. And they'll be like, right, this is what's happening. Like, Allah is choosing everything that's happened. Like, all life is planned by Allah. So this means that we do not have freedom, as only Allah can control what is happening. So yeah, like, you can use it. I would put it into your exam, okay? But I wouldn't, like, say in the Quran it says. Rather, I would go like many Muslims say inshallah as a way of remembering that God wills it and God makes things happen. But yeah, I would definitely, in a 12 marker, I'd be busting inshallah in there as a term. Like, that is certainly something I would be doing, okay? So the way I'd phrase it in the paragraph, I'd be saying like, Muslims often say the term inshallah, and I'd put quote marks around it. Helps if I don't do that. Inshallah. It is in the Quran, but like, we very rarely say you're quoting an individual word, Aisha, because it just seems odd to say you're quoting an individual word, and we don't learn in our class certainly a full quote for it. So it's not that it's not in the Quran. Of course, it is in the Quran, but like quoting an individual word, it's like saying like, could you put in a 5 marker Jesus in quotation marks and going like, in the Bible it says Jesus. They're not going to credit that as scripture, if that makes sense. Can you still say strong argument even if you don't agree with it? When you evaluate points that are opposite to your agreement, he says a strong argument if you don't agree with it. I mean, you can do, Allah is the best planner. Lovely quote there, Alicia. That's a perfect quote. Allah is the best planner. Wonderful, okay? So, we'll continue with that one as well. That's wonderful, Alicia. So, Muslims say the term, inshallah, which means Allah wills it. This shows that all actions are chosen by Allah, and Muslims are to trust in his planning. They may also, I'm going to take you there, really, Alicia, do this as the Quran says. Allah is the best of planners, showing that not only does Allah have a plan for everyone, but that Muslims should trust in this plan as well. Right. Ooh. Right. Okay. Yeah, so Leafy, the Shia view is slightly more complex. The way I try to explain it to my students, and for the purposes of this exam, and this, don't forget, I'm explaining predestination in a far more simplified way just to get through the exam. Like, this is not how I would like genuinely approach this. Is that Shia Muslims, Allah knows all the paths you can take, and He has put these paths in front of you, and so Allah knows for Shia Muslims like all the possible paths, but you have the freedom to choose the path that Allah has created. So I always compare it to those choose your own adventure books where it's like, oh, turn to page 16 if you do this, turn to page 20 if you do this. That Allah has set these paths for you, and because He is omniscient, He knows all things, and He is the best of planners, He has planned out all these different lives for me. And that's what I would say, okay? Oh, I've said nut instead of but there. That's embarrassing. That looks silly. Okay, so then I'll be like, however, some Muslims, some Shia Muslims may disagree with this point and say the quote, oh, I spelled quite wrong, Allah is the best of planners, means that Allah can plan multiple paths throughout our lives, and this means that we have the freedom to choose between them. Well, this shows that there is human freedom, while it is still possible for Allah to have planned it's still possible for predestination to exist. Another quote to support this is from the, now this is complicated, from the Hadith, where Muhammad said, believe in God, but tie your camel tight. This quote shows that though Allah has an overall plan for us, we are still responsible for the day-to-day running of our lives, and that our decisions matter. That's not bad. I'm quite happy with that. Right, speed I did that at. Oh my lord. Right, lots and lots of things being said though. Oh, I don't know what that is. Right. Tomorrow's Christianity and Islam for my students, yes. But you're doing Edexcel. Okay, so Edexcel might be different. Will this live be available to watch? Yeah, Red, after it's finished, it should just be sitting there. Yeah, essentially that's Scav. That's how I would sum it up in the most basic sense, which is doing a massive disservice to the nature of predestination for Islam, but annoyingly, sometimes we just need to pass an exam rather than doing a proper treatise on religion. How will the session be? I'm going to stop at 9:30 because if I don't sleep, then my children will get up at 4 and I will be too tired. Do the entire plan for this question as it's quite hard. I can't because otherwise I won't hit enough topics and it's already 10 to 9. Gung, I may be cooked to know what that means. I hope, I may be uncooked. Oh, I don't know if uncooked is good or bad. Sir, can you please save the life? Yeah, it does save. When I finish it, it saves there, so you can watch it in the morning. Yeah, Mohammed, look, you are absolutely right. The problem is, I haven't gone into that much detail with my year 11s because predestination doesn't come up that often, and so spending that much time on it hasn't seemed worth it. Now, I could be absolutely screwed over this year. I've tried to give them enough on it that they can answer a 12 marker or a 4 or 5 marker on it without spending so much time that I've not been given enough time for other things. But look, Mohammed, that you are more than equipped to deal with that. I've lost where we're going. What did someone say? Oh my God. Allah does not change the condition of a person to... Yeah, that's a really good one. Allah doesn't change the condition of a person, so they change what themselves to disagree. Yeah, that's excellent, Samuel. That's exactly the quote. So Samuel has used this quote, which is fantastic. It's a long quote, and it's not going to be for everyone, but I'm going to pop it in the question as well, because Samuel's done a great job there. I don't think you go to my school, Samuel, but I'm glad you're using that quote. It's very good. Whoever taught you has done a good job. They should have my job, and I should have a different job where I live in the woods. Do we have to write the surah verse? No, you do not. Do not write the surah and verse unless you particularly know it easily. Don't struggle with that. Don't do that at all unless you're really comfortable. Why do I do that when we have paper 1 tomorrow? Because we're doing paper 1 and we have Islam on our paper. Stop telling me what to do. My students know what we're doing. Can you say that Muslims believe there's human freedom because... Yes, exactly. Allah is so loving that He's given us our freedoms. I like that as an argument. Only what God disagreed will happen to us. Yeah, that's exactly it. I like that. God that changed it. Yeah, that people using that one. This paper 1. Paper 1 for AQA, which for my students, and they're the only ones I care about, sorry other people, is Christianity and Islam. So, and beliefs and practice, yes. Continue 12 marker. No, I'm going to do another 12 marker. Yes. Fran, you know your mock was invented and your mock was only on predicted questions. Both your mocks were questions that we predict will come up in this exam. Your year 10 mock was a previous paper, was a past paper, but your year 11 mock, we've only done it on predicted questions. Scarlett, yeah, if you want 12 out of 12, yeah, I'd want that many quotes, unfortunately. Yeah, probably. I want at least 1 per paragraph, maybe 2 per paragraph. Right, let's do another 12 marker. Someone was saying imamate. Carla, can you remind me what you want to do as well? I don't want to forget your question, Carla. I think you wanted jihad, and I may have done that already, but I just don't want to have forgotten what you wanted, Carla. But someone wanted imamate. So, I don't know if I can do an imamate 12 marker. When did we last get an imamate question? Let me just check my thing. So, we last got an imamate question in imamate. We got a 4 marker last year. We had a 2 marker. We had a 5 marker in 2019. So a 12 marker on imamate could be a possibility. It would be repulsive in my opinion. Not a problem with imamate. It's just that's really difficult. So let's do it. I have got actually one is in my plan of questions. So for the sake of crivens, right. So right. Bang, bang, bang. Right. Get that there, get that there. Yeah, right, I'm just going to have a bit of water because I'm tired. You falling asleep, dog? Yeah, I love you. You're looking at me. Oh. No worries, Carla. I thought I did. I don't know what's going on there. Someone's arguing about homosexuality. What's going on here? Right. Yeah, I'm just doing some RE revision. Let's not have a deep conversations, guys. I haven't got time for depth. Right, the imamate is the strongest source of authority for Shia Muslims. Okay, so this is difficult because once again, the imamate. At my school we don't try and overteach imamate because it's not the biggest topic. It doesn't link to many others, and so an imamate question would be tough because getting 2 paragraphs out of the imamate is difficult. But it does give you really good opportunities to do disagree paragraphs. Really good opportunity to disagree paragraphs. Now, it's sources of authority. So your source of authority. Someone asked about angels, so I'll try and mention angels in this one. The things you want to talk about are sources of authority. What are the sources of authority? Well, we've got imamate as that's in the question. We've got the Quran as that's as a source of authority. We've got the prophets as their source of authority. We've got the angels, their source of authority. And we've got other holy books, their source of authority. So, they're the source of authority I'd probably be arguing between. They're the first ones in my head, and I think they're the ones I'd want to do. So, can you paraphrase quotes? Yeah, of course you can paraphrase quotes. That's a really good one. Okay. Right. So, what would I put if it was 2 reasons why Muslims would throw stones at Pillar of Mina? So, easy one, Evie. I've knocked that one up before I do this. One reason they throw stones at Pillars of Mina is to reenact the story of Ibrahim. So they're remembering what Ibrahim did and copying his actions. Ibrahim is a prophet, so by reenacting his actions, they're remembering the actions of Prophet Ibrahim. And the second way is by throwing stones at the Pillars of Mina, they are driving away temptation and remembering to drive the devil out of their life. So it keeps them away from temptation and reminding them not to be tempted into sin. Why are people just putting the word Quran at me? I don't know what the hell's going on. Right, you people who are annoying are just getting hidden because I don't know why you're just saying things. Right, so you're annoying. You just go into timeout. Right, shushed. Right, people just talking nonsense. Right. So, Will, the imamate is the Shia Muslim belief about the people who follow Muhammad and the leaders of the religion. So the imamate is I'm a mate. Okay, so to remember it, okay, I'm a mate, okay? And that leads us into the quote, and Ali is the friend of Allah. So if you see imamate, you've got the term I'm a mate, and then you can link that to the Shia Shahada, the Shia version of Shahada, which is an Ali is the friend of Allah. So the second you see I'm a mate, imamate, you're like, oh yeah, imamate, I'm a mate, the friend of Allah. They're not prophets, they're just the friends of Allah. Okay, so let's actually have a go at this question and where we would go with it, okay? I think the hardest bit is getting our agree paragraphs and what 2 different things we're going to say. So why are the imamate a strong source of authority, okay? My first paragraph is going to be, they are the family and descendants of Muhammad, and they are there to lead the faith after his death. I'm going to be talking about, and Ali is the, he needs a capital letter at the very least, and Ali is the friend of Allah, as my quote there, is a friend of Allah. That is my first thing I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be saying my first agree is, yes, a great source of authority, because Ali was chosen by Allah, according to Shia Muslims. All this is according to Shia Muslims. Sunni Muslims will not agree with this. So you're going to have to focus this whole question on Shia Muslims. And the question says Shia Muslims in it, so you don't want to get into a thing where you're going, however, Sunni Muslims will not believe that. Do not use that as your evaluation, because that's not evaluation on this question. It's not saying what Sunni Muslims believe. It doesn't matter on this question what Sunni Muslims believe. Only matters what Shia Muslims believe. So you focus on that. To be like, these are the best source of authority because they are chosen by Allah to lead. They're chosen after Muhammad dies to be it, and they are the bloodline of the Prophet. Okay, that is why they're the strongest source of authority. This is why, because they are able to lead the religion. Okay, so they're there. There is family. All that you're going to explain. Oh my God, we don't need all this. Christ, like, yeah, I'm happy you're a happy human, but come on, like, that's cool. Yeah, obey. Lovely quote. That's a wonderful quote. Obey those in authority among you. Right, so. Oh, that's why you were shouting Quran. Sorry, I am so stupid. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. That's exactly what you're doing. I do apologise. That is, like, perfect. Yes, and Leafy, that's a really good quote, but the deep one, okay? So, Red, I would do 5 paragraphs. I teach 5 paragraphs, but if your teacher's taught you away for 6, do that. Predestination Christianity. Predestination will not come up in Christianity. There's no Christianity. Yeah, Kiriman and Kataman record deeds. I don't know why you're saying that. Have I missed something that I said there? Oh, you're just talking about angels. Yes, sorry, Carla, we'll go over angels. I will do angels. Thank you for everyone helping you with angels in there. God, the people in this chat who are nice are very nice. Okay, so what's my disagree paragraph going to be? Now this, Carla, I will be doing angels in this, okay? So my last one is going to be angels, okay? So the reason I'm doing that is I'm not necessarily going to have to put perfect arguments in there. And angels has got easy evaluation, okay? That I'm going to do in there later, okay? So I'm going to do angels in this paragraph here, okay? But it's got easy evaluation because it doesn't have to be good. The paragraph doesn't have to be strong, it has to be knowledgeable in this sense. So I'm going to write a paragraph about angels to show how smart I am. And then I'm going to say it's a weak paragraph, because it doesn't matter. I'm saying it's a weak paragraph. Right. Alright, sorry, I just need a bit more water. Yeah, exactly. So my other one for agreeing is going to be, right, so I'm then going to do, disagree, the Quran is the best source of authority. This is an easy paragraph, okay? It's the direct word of Allah, never changed, always in Arabic, so always be trusted, okay? And then I'm going to use my recite, because that's the easiest quote in the world to do. I'm busting out that baby and being like, recite. This is the easiest thing that I've ever said. This is the book of which there can be no doubt. I'm being like, this is the book that is so important, okay? I'm doing that, okay? Now, this is going to sound like an insane thing. I'm then going to do a weakness of this argument, okay, for this question. If I got imamate, I'm going to go, however, and this might seem insane because I think generally the Quran is the strongest one, but because this question has imamate in the question, I'm only going to do one paragraph about the Quran. I'm going to write so much more about the imamate. I'm going to argue the imamate is the most important source of authority. I often feel that whatever the question is set for you is the easiest thing to argue, because you've said so much more about it. And I'm going to do that in this one, okay? However, the Quran was... Now, this is really... Like, for an actual Muslim, this would not be a very good bit of evaluation. But for the exam, that's fine. You're just making the point. The examiner's not going to argue back with you. They're just looking for you making good, logical points, okay? The Quran was written 1,500 years... Oh, not 15,000 years ago. 1,000 years ago. And many modern events are not covered in it, for example, modern medicine or nuclear war, so it cannot be the best source of authority for modern days, as it needs to be interpreted. Right. Why have I said that paragraph? It seems odd that I'm doing this, because in this paragraph, I'm then going to go, the role of the imams was to interpret the Quran for people so the messages could be applied to their actual lives. And that's why the imamate are so important. That's the point I'm going to be making on there. I'm going to be arguing that the imamate is so important because they can interpret the Quran. I've already said a weakness of the Quran. Now, once again, a true Muslim would not be arguing that in a real sense. But for the exam, that's fine. You're not actually arguing true Muslim opinions unless you are someone who wants to do that. But you're trying to pass an exam first and foremost, most of you, and that's the point you're making. You're not making a complex point about religion. This isn't your thesis at university. This is you trying to answer an examination question. So, I need a comma in there. So that's what I'm going to be saying. And then we're going, this is it. Right, okay. Right, so I'm going to do more about angels in a second. Yes, the last imam is lost and returned on Judgment Day, and that's what you can put in this paragraph, okay? And you could be like, for example, the last imam will return with Jesus on Judgment Day, showing that the imamate as a source of authority will return to this world to lead and guide Shia Muslims. Okay, bang, right? Not bad at all. Happy with that. Now, disagree. I'm going to do this as a separate paragraph because Carla wanted to do angels. I think it was Carla. Someone to do angels. So we'll take my paragraph there and we'll do my disagree paragraph with angels there. Okay, so this is still the same 12-mark question. So let's do a paragraph about angels as a source of authority. Now, angels is going to be a relatively weak source of authority, but you know enough about angels you can talk about, okay? So let's actually write this paragraph out. Let's firstly, because someone wanted just me to do the angels, there are 4 angels that the exam board want you to know about desperately. Okay, Jibril is the most important. Israfil is probably next in my opinion in terms of the exam board, not in terms of actual angels. It doesn't matter how important the actual angels are in Islam for the exam. It does matter to Muslim people who are trying to like follow the Quran and live their lives, but that's not what we're doing. We're trying to pass an exam tomorrow, most of us. And the exam board are not a Muslim organisation. They're just an exam board trying to set up random questions. Not random, you know what I mean? Jibril, the messenger. Israfil, end of world. Mikhail, the preserver of life, brackets, rains, always mention the rains, it's a nice one, the exam board, love that as well, like looking after the crops, and he challenges us, and Azrael, death. Right, so I just realised I've turned off the chat, so I must put that back on. No, Michael, don't evaluate every paragraph. Like, if you can, amazing, but if you're running out of time, or you don't have a decent bit of evaluation, I'd rather see no evaluation than just some sort of nonsense. That's Israfil who blows a trumpet. I can't. Yeah, okay, you're talking to her. Yeah, I can imagine Mr. Satan, which does seem odd as you're saying as a Muslim and your name is Satan on there, but we'll do that. Yeah, it's so difficult. It must be really difficult to argue against something that is common sense for a Muslim. You just sort of have to put that out of your brain and for a bit if you want to. Otherwise, you're just going to have to like force yourself to like much more complicated arguments for the sake of keeping it more true to Islamic scripture, which is really frustrating. So, how much do you recommend doing all the 12 markers first? Actually, I would not do all the 12 markers first. The reason I would not do that, personally, is your 12 marker can be based on the things that are in the rest of that section. So if I'm writing an Islam practices 12 marker and I'm writing about jihad, well, I will have already done a 4 and 5 marker, maybe about Hajj and Shahada, and I've got myself there paragraphs worth of like writing to go through. So I've already written decent paragraphs. So I might look at it and go, oh, actually, let me check on these. Okay, I've already written about this. I can say this thing again. The problem is if you do all the 12 markers first, I feel you've got a lack of inspiration to take from there for your paragraphs. I think the exam is designed to be done in an order. So you build up your practices knowledge. You go, okay, a little bit about practices, a little bit about practices, here's a 4 marker on practices, here's a 5 marker. All those practices stuff, all that stuff I've said, let's see how much of it I can bring into this 12 marker. It's personally how I do it. Now, if you don't find that comfortable, you want to knock out the 12 markers, just do it. No, I mean, if you're doing Judaism, this will not help you at all. No, sorry. Is that day or night? Do not slacken. Some angels, such. Yeah, exactly. Look, we'll do angels now. I'll talk about why the angel is important. Okay, my camera's like, I'm sorry, darlings. There's not much I can do about that. This is a very old laptop. I expect I'm not running on the best software. So, yeah, you can talk about Karaman and Kitabun. You can talk about any of the angels. Tired. Right. So let's do a nice paragraph about angels. So right. Oh, sorry guys, it's been a long life. So I'd be like, oh, right. So, some Muslims may argue that angels are the best source of authority. For example, it was the angel Jibril who brought now this is a poor argument. No Muslim's actually going to talk about the angel Jibril's a better source of authority than Allah because he's bringing the word, but we know this. It's for the exam. We're making a poor argument. Then for Satan, who struggle with this, write these paragraphs and then say this is a weak argument because, or this is a strong argument, and that's where you get in your look. This is what an actual Muslim would say about it. Who brought? Oh, it helps if there's a T on the end of that, and it helps if the word source has an S on it. My God, who brought the Quran to Muhammad? This shows that it is Jibril, an angel, who is the best source of authority, as he is the one who delivered the word of Allah. Angels are said to be without free will, so they are not capable of changing Allah's words, meaning they can always be trusted. Okay. Right. Oh, can't read that. Oh no, don't do that first. Quote to support this is, we do not descend except by the will of the Lord. This quote shows angels only obey Allah and therefore can be the most trusted source of authority. Right. Oh, I've got another quote mark in there. Okay, so can you talk about I read that one. Okay, thanks. It includes theme paper. Yeah, I'll do themes paper next week on the Tuesday before the Wednesday exam. I'll do one of these for themes as well. That's absolutely fine. Creation, nature of God will come up. Creation, no, I don't think creation will come up. I don't know why I didn't think creation will come up. I looked at my list earlier and I didn't think creation was coming up. Why did I not think creation was coming up? Because when did it last come up? It was a 12 marker in 2022, so I didn't think it would come up as a big question. It could certainly come up as a 4 or 5 marker, but it wouldn't be my prediction for a 12 marker. Afterlife, I think, could definitely come up as a 12 marker. Ascension come up as a 12 marker. They would be my predictions, but Trinity is my real thought about what's a 12 marker on that one. That'd be it. All these are predictions of questions that might come in, Amina. I'm only predicting questions. All these are predicted questions, not past paper questions. They're all predictions. I can try and do something about prophets. Yeah, exactly. Noah, the prophets as a source of authority would be an excellent paragraph as well. The reason I wanted to do angels is because someone was asking about angels, so I wanted to knock an angel one out. And I would be doing this as a weak paragraph because I'm going to argue that imamate is more important for this question. However, this is a weak point. This is a weak argument, I should say, as even though angels are messengers of Allah, they are only his vessels, and it is the prophets who are entrusted to spread that message to humans on earth. Like, that's the point I make. And then if I was doing a longer answer, I could link that into a prophets paragraph and be like, however, prophets are the most important source of authority. The prophets are the most important source of authority because it is they who are chosen by Allah to spread the message, and the most important of those prophets for many Muslims is considered Muhammad because he is the seal of the prophets, the one who's delivering the final message, which is written down in the Quran. If I had a source of authority question, the two things that in reality, especially if I was talking about Sunni Muslims as well, or just Muslims brackets general, I'd be arguing that prophets or the Quran are the most important source of authority. I would probably always fall down to Quran truly being the most important source of authority because it is the source of authority that every Muslim can access. That's going to be my evaluation in the end if I'm doing this as a full question. I was only doing this because I wanted to make points about the imamate and be more complicated. If I get a source of authority question, I'm going to fall down to the Quran being the most important source of authority. I think that's the easiest paragraph to write because there was a fly on my finger. Because every Muslim has access to it. It's the direct word of God. It is unchanged. It's from one of the prophets, so we know its teachings are correct. There's so much evidence that the Quran is the most important source of authority. Are there any quotes for angels other than Jibril? Yes. So quotes for angels, I would be doing... now, if you just want general, with wings of 2 or 3 or 4. Oh, helps if I can do that. So that's a nice one for that one. Oh, what's going on there? I've lost that again. Oh, sorry guys. I've done something wrong here. Oh, I don't know what I've done. Yeah, I don't know what I've done there. Just leave that. The angels were told to bow down to Adam. That's a quote, and that's what they were told to do, bow down to Adam. Are you sorry? It's online. I have my sight. Oh, no worries. Look, that's why I put these things on, because it's just easy to put revision stuff on there. I do apologise. Yeah. Every nation was sent a prophet. It's a nice one as well. That's a good one. But that's good. Esme, how much do I write for a 12 marker? I do 5 paragraphs. I teach 5 paragraphs is the best way to do it. I think that's the easiest one. 4 against conclusion. I'd want each of those paragraphs to be roughly 5 to 6 sentences. If you're covering less than a page for most people's average handwriting, I think you've probably written too little. So I'd want it always to probably go over at least 1 page, but it would depend on handwriting size, stuff like that. Yeah, each person has angels before them and behind them. That's a lovely quote. Sorry, I hadn't finished doing quotes. Each person has angels before them and behind them. That's absolutely fine. Do a live revision on the 19th. Yes, I will be. I'll be doing revision for the second paper on next Tuesday, on the 20th. So it'll be Tuesday night. I'll do it exactly the same time, and I'll do that. So I'm going to put all my predicted questions into the chat now. Not into chat, into the thing. You see what this document is. What's it called? Live stream. See, I'm cool. I'm hip and with the quiz. I'll only do 12 markers because I think those are the ones people are most concerned about. I'm no fool. So these are my Christian belief predictions for questions if I was doing some last minute things. So these are the ones I predicted for Christian beliefs. So make sure, like, there's 4 here. I would, and look, I'm not guaranteeing any of these are coming up, obviously, but they're 4 predictions that I had that I would think might come up. So Christian beliefs. The afterlife is the most important belief for all Christians. That, I think, is not too bad a one. I would want to be talking about how the afterlife is really important because it's the aim of all Christians in life is to get into the afterlife. And then my counter would be like, no, it's more important to believe in God and to believe in his teachings, because by believing in Jesus and his teachings, that is how we reach the afterlife. If we merely believe in the afterlife, we just believe in the afterlife, and it's not enough. And then I might throw in the quote, faith without action is dead. Like, it's not as important just believe it. We have to follow Jesus' teachings and what he tells us to do. For example, the parable of the sheep and the goats, and know what actions to take in order to get into heaven. The Incarnation is the most important part of Jesus' life. That would be beautiful, because that's just, we've done that already, but that's just comparing parts of Jesus' life. I would love that as a question. The Father had the most important role in creation. We've done that one. And Jesus' crucifixion, the most important part of his life. Nothing like that's come up in a while. Either of those would be brilliant. The crucifixion and the Incarnation ones are basically the same questions, but reversed. And I think either of those would be lovely. Christian practices. Let's make that bigger. I am a stupid person. I am a silly man. I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my life. Nothing's going to plan. So, it's a lovely one of my songs. I wrote that for Michael Bublé. He rejected it. I haven't put. Have I put on the right thing? Yes, I have. So, this is the Christian practices question that I would have a look at. These are potential 12 markers that I would have a look at. Lourdes is the most important place of pilgrimage for all Christians. We have not ever, I don't believe, had a pilgrimage 12 marker. And if I'm looking at it, pilgrimage just has a 4 marker and a 4 marker. It's never even had a 5 marker. It's never had a 12 marker. That would not be the biggest surprise to see a pilgrimage 12 marker in there. We did this question earlier, sacraments the best way for Christians to get close to God. We've never had a sacraments 12 marker, and we've had very few sacraments questions in general, so it wouldn't surprise me. In fact, the word sacrament, even though it's on the spec, has never been used in a question. That fills me full of fear, because at one point they can just do it, and that would scare me and make me cry. I would cry so much that the world would flood, and they would be recreating a Noah-like situation, and that's not good for anyone. Every Christian has a responsibility to help grow the church, because that's an evangelism and a missionary question. I think that's a really nice one. But once again, we've not had an evangelism or missionary 12 marker ever. So that could definitely come up ever. So that would be one that could come up. And finally, the best way to follow Jesus' teachings is to work towards reconciliation. Horrible question. But don't forget, that's reconciliation with God. So doing things to please God. So you can talk about atonement, you can talk about faith that action is dead, we can talk about salvation, all those things you can work together. So would you, oh yeah, that's it, love the thing, thank you very much. I wish I did Christianity as well. I don't know what exam board you're doing, but you're not doing Christianity in some form. I'm very surprised, unless you're doing Catholic Christianity. Christianity questions are generally, I think, often nicer. just because the way they phrase them. I think they're a lot more generous historically with the phrasing of them, but we will look at that. But these are my Islam predictions for beliefs. Once again, I could be wrong. The exam board are known to do things that people don't predict. They are an unpredictable beast. But these are my predictions. So, for 12 markers, what quotes can we use for Lords? Where 2 or 3 gather in my name, I am with them. Street pastors have never come up. Terrifying. Though I've never, I don't know how you prep for it. There's a lot of things to go through here. But yeah, I'd go with 2 or 3 gather in my name, I am with them. Faith without action is dead. Then I'll talk about the Holy Spirit being everywhere. That's the things I'd focus on for those ones. That Pilgrimage question would be horrible. Yeah, I think it would be horrible, Evie. But I think it'd be horrible to get 12 marks on, but I don't think it'd be horrible to get 7, 8, or 9 marks on. You wouldn't flop it completely. You would get halfway through, and you could do this is what Lords is, this is what Iona is. I think that Lord's that pilgrimage question becomes really difficult to get into deep Christian knowledge because there's just so little about Iona. It's such a random thing to talk about, but that is it. Exactly, Katie. That's exactly the problem with it. So the imamate is the strongest source of authority for Shia Muslims. We've done that one. It's tough, but go back to the video, you'll see it. The best way to understand Allah is through the holy books. That I think is a lovely question, and there hasn't been a holy books 12 marker. I don't believe in a long time. Let me just double check my list. So the last time we had a Holy Books 12 marker was 2020, and you're thinking, well, why is that important? Barely anyone sat the exam in 2020 because of a little thing called COVID. So no one's really done that question. It's not widely available. I could see there being a Holy Books in general question, and that's great because you can write an easy bad paragraph about the other holy books. I say bad paragraph, being these holy books aren't a good source of authority because of a weaknesses argument is the scrolls of Ibrahim. Always bringing up the scrolls of Ibrahim and saying they're not a good one. Jihad is a Muslim practice, darling. They are actively doing jihad. It's not something they just believe in. It is a practice. Muslims are expected to practice jihad. Judaism favour to along with Christianity, and I do Christian along with Islam. Okay. Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that was a combo you could do. What's the best quote for you in any of the sacraments? I mean, any of the sacraments. Faith without action is dead. It's an action. Faith without action is dead. That's the easiest one. What would an argument against evangelism be? Desley, it causes conflict in between people because you are interfering with other people's lives, so it can cause conflict. But my favourite one is that religion should be private. Go into your room, shut the door and pray. That this is God telling us that religion should be private between us. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they are the children of God. I don't know what that goes with. I guess you're answering someone else's question, but thank you to whoever you're answering the question of. What's supposed to be in conclusions? So, overall, I think the strongest argument is my first line of all my conclusions. Overall, I think the strongest argument is, and then arguing which side of the argument you've genuinely put the most effort into, and going, this is why it is, and try to say one unique thing that you've not said so far, or take down the other side a little bit more, and be this shows why this is the winning argument. So being let's say it was a source of authority question and going, overall, I think that the strongest argument is the Quran is the best source of authority because not only is it available to all of us, but it is also the word of the prophets written down. And this means that even though the prophets are a good source of authority, we can only learn of them in modern times through the Quran now, as Muhammad is a seal of the prophets, and no more prophets will come to speak to us. That little bit of extra information is explaining why you've come to that conclusion. I know it's in the UK. Okay, good. Oh, it's stuck on Christianity. Nah, thanks, guys. I'm a thicko. Whoever did that is absolutely helped me out. The predictions are still showing Christianity. Thank you. Where's Lillian? Don't know. Did you do Islam predictions? I'm just doing them now, but I forgot to change the slide over. I'm stupid. Oh, George, my Buddhism knowledge is good enough to teach up to year 9, but I haven't taught Buddhism GCSE I've not taught it properly to GCSE ever. I've been teaching Islam and Christianity for 17 years. I'm so sorry. I would be not your man for that. I hope there's a teacher online doing that tonight, but I fear there won't be. What two beliefs about Adalat be? So that Allah is just because he's going to judge us all fairly, that we are being judged when the world ends and we are going to be judged for heaven or hell, Jannah or Jahannam, that Allah is showing that he is a just, so we should treat each other with justice as well. Quotes for imamate are so difficult, and they're vague and they're really long. You're right, it's a difficult one, Ahmad. So the best way to understand Allah is through the holy books would be good. Now this one I think is horrible because you have to try and remember the 6 articles of faith. The 6 articles of faith are the best way to understand Islam. I mean, we talked about that one in the office because I predicted these with my colleagues. I mean, a 6 articles of faith question would be mean. I would just be doing a Tawheed paragraph and then a Tawheed paragraph about the Tawheed is so important and about why prophets are so important, and then I'd be going, no, the best way to understand Islam, and then I'd look at things that aren't in the 6 articles of faith. That's the disagreeing is the hard bit with that one. And so I'd be looking over at Shia Islam and being like, Shia Muslims would disagree with this, and then picking out like the imamate would be my first point I'd be making on that one, like the imamate outside of that one, and then I'd probably be doing as my second point on that one. Oh, that would be so difficult. I mean, I'd have to pick like Adalat and God's justice. It'd be like it'd be a paragraph about why Adalat's the best way to understand God. But I would be saying that the 6 articles of faith are the best way to understand Islam, especially through Tawheed and prophets. And then my evaluation would be like, and my conclusion would be like, and this is shown because though the 6 articles of faith and the 5 roots of faith are different, on these 2 issues, on prophets and Tawheed, both agree, showing that the 6 articles of faith are an important way to understand Islam. That's a really horrible question. And predestination means there's no human freedom. We've done that one. That's a very unpleasant thing to say. Nature of Allah is a belief, Fran, because it's what they believe about Allah. Yes, there was a 6 articles question. Person who said that the 6 articles one was a 12 marker in 2021. The reason we put it in was because once again that wasn't a paper that many people did, and so that's why I've put it in there, because I thought, that could have come up. But it was a 2021 paper. It was during the COVID time, so not a huge amount of people did that paper because people were doing the tag grades where they got to set their own grades at that point. So that would be my fear. That would be the reason why I think it could come up. So I don't think it's the most likely to come up, but that's why I put it in there. So you're right, it was a 2021 paper that one came up in. I do try and check on these things as much as I can. Note Z, click that, right, and the last ones before I go to sleep, and I leave you all for the evening, and you go to sleep as well because you have an exam in the morning. Getting sleep is important. Going to bed any later than 9:30 would be baffling behaviour. Be good humans and sleep the sleep of the just. Right, would be the jihad is the greatest duty Muslim has. We've done that one. Prayer should be the first duty for all Muslims. We've not had a prayer 12 marker in I don't think in time at all. Have we ever had a prayer 12 marker? Let me just double check before I say something foolish. No. Oh yes. So we have had prayer 12 markers, but they've asked a question on prayer every single year. That was it. Sorry, my brain is going flat. So they always ask a question on prayer. There's always a fear that prayer is going to come up again. So that is something to fear and worry that prayer is coming up again. But I don't think that's a difficult one. Zakat is the only form of giving alms that Muslims need to do. I mean, that is a horrible question because that's zakat versus Khums and zakat versus sadaqah. But my argument would be, like, if I'm coming down to it, I'd be like, it's not the only one Muslims. It's the only one Muslims need to do, but it's not the only one Muslims should do. By acts of sadaqah, they can help all people, and Khums is a responsibility for Shia Muslims. But I'd be agreeing with that and being like, the word need in that sentence means that it's the only one that's essential for all Muslims, and Sunni Muslims do not believe in Khums. And to please Allah, a Muslim must follow the 10 obligatory acts. Oh, really tough. Don't forget, 4 of the 10 obligatory acts are 4 of the 5 pillars: Salah, Saum, Zakah, Hajj, and you've got Jihad in there as well. Right, a lot of questions. Let me just quickly run through these. Read that one. Is Katie still here? I don't know. Evie, not for me to say. Can you give me more short quotes? I mean, not right now. I'm going to sleep in a second. Sorry, I do apologise, Ragulan. You have a lot of COVID times questions. Not really, AR. They haven't come up again. We're just trying to cover all our bases. We don't know what they're doing. We know those exams weren't sat very much, so the exam board might want to take like a theme they've done before of questions, not the exact wording, and do that sort of question again, knowing that like schools probably haven't. Like, one thing is that we don't have loads of copies of those exam papers because we didn't sit them very often, so they know we're not using them for mocks very often, stuff like that. What quotes are for predestination? Allah is the best of all planners is the one I like to use. That's really simple. Can you put up Muslim practices? I've done that. I am still here. Evie says, thank you for the revision. I'm going to go now. Good. I saw Ashura being too violent as a question on that might come in. Oh, wow. That would be a really tough question. Yeah, it could. I mean, I think the wording of that one have to be very particular, because saying Ashura is too violent is saying that there's only one way to practice Ashura, which is through self-flagellation. But there's many ways to practice Ashura. So I think the wording of the question will need to be very careful. Hajj could not come up. I expect Hajj will come up, but I know we've done so much Hajj that I'm not too stressed about it in my school, but certainly Hajj came up as a 12 marker. The last time Hajj was a 12 marker was 2021, so yeah, we could have a Hajj 12 marker. That could certainly be it, but I just know in our school we've done a lot of Hajj. It was a Psalm 12 marker last year. I'm not going to talk about liturgical and non-liturgical Christian worship now, sorry. 20% of your wealth of cheer in it, yeah, that's the one. Has Ashura ever come up? Yeah, Ashura came up as a 5 marker last year, so it was the 5 marker last year, and it was a 4 marker in 2019. No worries. What are the most difficult topics for Islam? I mean, imamate and predestination, in my opinion. Have a lovely evening, guys. It's been an absolute treat, apart from those people who are being weird and rude. I don't understand it, but you know, we've all got to live our best lives, and I'm living mine. That's not true. I'm teaching RE on the internet. But have a lovely evening. Good luck with your exams tomorrow. I wish I knew what button that ended the stream. It's the one that says end stream. Good luck, everyone.